Okay, my people, this is the most important message, piece of advice you ever hear in your life. If you're like me, if you got the short end of the stick, the stick, if you are like me and life hasn't been as fruitful as it could have been, is the nicest way of putting that. If you're like me and you're in that situation, then this is the most important piece of advice that anyone can ever give you. I'm left-handed. What can I say? Yeah. So before I forget what it is, it's like an epiphany. Yeah. I was just watching another victimized person. I've just drank 2 buds, so that means I'm too bad. This is my 3rd bud. So anyway, the epiphany, obviously it's a phrase, it's a message, it's the advice that you need, that incorporates everything that you will need yeah, to create a brighter future for yourself, yeah, regardless of what your situation is, whether you are economically up or down, politically up or down, socially up or down, physically, mentally, spiritually, any kind of alley you want. So this advice is universal, and basically it's in line with how Christ would have seen it. It's a piece of advice that will save your life in the long run, and that's a serious thing. So basically, this is it. In whatever you say and think, you must endeavor to limit the level of corruption in whatever you endeavor to partake in. And I'll break it down. In whatever you say or think, yeah, you must try to limit the level of corrupt behavior in anything, yeah, that you're trying to get involved in. Yeah. So you listen to my conversations and you don't see any punchline, you don't see any verb, you don't see any call to action. Everything I say and think is designed to limit the level of corruption in everything that can affect my life. Yeah. So you know me as a man that is non-medicated. I don't take artificial things, but I do. Whenever I do, it's in my food. So whenever something I consume, yeah, has an artificial element or component to it, it's something that's mass produced. This reduces the level of corrupt behavior that can be directed towards me, because whoever is manufacturing mass produced food didn't come from nowhere, didn't fall from a tree. It was born from people. So if he starts poisoning mass produced food, chances are he increases the likelihood of poisoning one of his own. Yeah. So you try to position yourself in such a way that you've reduced the level of corruption that can be directed towards you. Yeah. I am not medicated, but when I grow older, I hope not to be. But if I ever become medicated, then from now until then, I have to make sure that the medical systems we have are as clean as possible in terms of corruption. The reason why I'm not medicated is because I don't trust the people who have to administer the medication to us. The medicine works. I'm a scientist. I'm not an idiot. I've studied a bit of chemistry, so I know that works. But it's just that people have family and friends that they're willing to corrupt, or they're willing to do corrupt things for. And I have a lot of people who hate my guts. Yeah. These are normal people. I also know from experience that in my recent past, we're talking less than 3 years back, there's been a competitor in my life that had connections to my physician. This competitor and I were vying for something. I will not elaborate. I don't want to give away the game because I'm still investigating this. And when we're going for that thing that we're vying for, my physician all of a sudden got the idea to just keep ringing me like he's possessed or something. Yeah. And it's just coincidentally started doing that. But when you look at the 6 degrees of separation, and then you look at your competitors, you can see that the likelihood of one of them having asked your physician to do them a favor and inform you that you're sick when you go to see them is not too far-fetched. So I didn't see my physician at that time. Somebody could have reached them. Somebody could have told them, look, I'm a family member. This guy, he's going for the same thing I am. Yeah, why don't you call him in for a general appointment and then tell him that he's sick with something. And that way, the nocebo, which is the reverse of a placebo, will take place, and his own consciousness will make him sick and give him the disease that you told him. Because you're a man in the white coat, a doctor, and we're all programmed to trust anything that a scientist says to us or a doctor says to us. Once a doctor says to you that you're ill, it's like I said, it's nocebo. It's like hypnosis. You will hypnotize yourself into being ill. Okay? So that's what I mean by I don't trust the people who administer the medication. They have friends and family who put them under pressure to do something corrupt when they compete against us. So you can see the way I'm talking now. Yeah? By saying this, I alert people to it, decreases the likelihood of somebody trying that, and cleans up the health service. I'm reducing the level of corruption in the health service just in case later on I need to use it. It's a game of probabilities. I reduce the probability of me running into a corrupt situation if and when I ever decide to use the health service. That's why my conversations are like this. They aimed to reduce the level of corruption in it, so that when I come to use it, yeah, I stand a better chance of not being victimized by someone who is under that kind of pressure. I set off different ideas in people's heads that will help clean up the place. That's the most important piece of advice, like I told you, you ever get in your life. Yeah? In everything you say and think, you must endeavor to reduce the level of corruption in whatever you intend to use in your life. I'll tell you about what happened at the onset of my psychological problems, where I went into the fire. Yeah, that fire that burns forever. Yeah, that burns your soul forever. This was in 1990 something. Yeah, so I found myself burning. My soul was burning, man. Yeah, and it seemed to be eternal, and I was falling into an abyss. But I wasn't falling. There'll be times when I was floating. The only way out of that fire is to float to the top and come out. The only way you can float to the top is if your heart is as light as a feather. I added that bit in at the end because later on, like 10 years after, I started reading Egyptian mythology, and I heard about the afterlife and how they judge that. Anubis, yeah, Impu, which is his Egyptian name. So basically, he weighs your heart against a feather. And that reminded me of that time when I went through that fire. The only way I managed to come out of it is by floating to the top. Whenever I thought about dirty things, things that involve selfishness, I own this, I started to sink into the fire, and there was no way out. But whenever I let go, I started to float. So I just completely let go, and I came out. So you have to reduce the corruption in the things you intend to use to make yourself a brighter future for this life and the afterlife. Yeah? So, if you reduce the level of corruption in the things you intend to get into, you reduce the need for corrupt behavior from you. The saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, means that if you're in a corrupt climate, you have to be corrupt to survive in that climate. But if you reduce the corruption before you get into that climate, you reduce the likelihood, the need for you to be corrupt in that climate. This keeps your heart light like a feather. And that's for your afterlife. And you need to be light like that for your afterlife. Otherwise, you burn forever. Yeah? So this is the most important message that I can ever bring to you. Okay? It's a game of probabilities. You reduce the level of corruption to reduce the need for you to be corrupt. Yeah. In whatever endeavor you choose to partake in. Okay? Don't waste your time hating. That will burden your heart and it will make it heavier. Yeah? Don't target people when you are fighting back. It's very hard to do. Don't target people specifically. Yeah? Your aim is to reduce corrupt behavior in whatever you intend to do. Okay? Obviously, this doesn't apply to criminals, because if you intend to be a criminal, you already know that you intend to be corrupt. You intend to be that way. Yeah? But then criminality depends on what you mean by criminality. Criminal in the eyes of the Lord is what I'm talking about, not in the eyes of the law. Because the law just flip-flops all the time. What was legal then is legal now. What's legal now sometimes might be illegal in the future, so we'll never know. There used to be prohibition, but now there's not. so defining what's legal in the eyes of man, that's different, but in the eyes of the Lord. And you know the law from Leviticus and the 10 Commandments, I'm one of those. Yeah. So basically, you reduce the need to partake in corrupt behavior by reducing the level of corruption in what you intend to do. This keeps your heart light like a feather for the afterlife. Yeah. Okay. And for the life you have now. Yeah. That's why my conversations are like this. That's why when I talk about things which are corrupt, I do it like this. I don't mention specific names, specific people. Yeah, I do it like this. Yeah, I don't even mention my physician's name. I do it like this as an example. Yeah, I actually appeal to your heart. Yeah, whether you're a perpetrator or a targeted person, I appeal to you, the soul inside you. Yeah, because you will be judged. Yeah, and I've seen that fire. Yeah, and there's no way out of that. The only way out is to let go of all your desires. Okay? All you people who go around saying, oh, you can't touch our women, like you own those. Yeah, the desire to own woman, the desire to own material wealth, the desire to own anything that hardens your heart, man. You're not going